If you're spending more than a few minutes a day on email, you're literally bleeding money. And I'm about to show you the best N8N automation hacks that will put your Gmail on complete autopilot. I'm talking about automation so powerful that people have gone from hours of daily email hell to checking their inbox once a week. And the crazy part, most of these automations take less than 15 minutes to set up. By the end of this video, you'll have a Gmail system that practically runs itself. So let's dive right in. The first hack is going to blow your mind. We're building an AI classifier that automatically sorts every incoming email into the right category before you even see it. And here's how this works in N8N. So first we'll start with the Gmail trigger, because essentially this fires every time a new email comes in. So to do that, we just go to Gmail and we're going to use the onMessage received. So this will allow us to know or to run the automation when a new message comes in. And technically it's based on a duration, on a poll time. So this could be every minute, every hour, every week, day, month. We can set it to be every minute. So every time this runs, it will pull whatever email comes in. So as you can see, here it pulled the latest email that I had. And here's where this all gets interesting. We're going to connect this to OpenAI's text classifier, and we're going to train it to recognize the difference between client emails, promotional stuff, invoices, and personal messages. So here, what we're going to do is we're going to add an OpenAI module. We're going to message a model. Let's choose 4.1. And what we're going to say is that you are a helpful email classifier that decides whether an email is a client email, promotional stuff, an invoice, or a personal message. So that's all I'm going to say right here. Then I'm going to add a message and I'm going to pass along the snippet of information. Now, I'll speak about the snippet in a second, but for now, let's just hit execute and see what we get. And here we got this email is an invoice. Now, what I want to do is just ask it to only output one of the words from above, nothing else. Promotional stuff, invoice, only output 1/2 of the words from above. So I'm just going to make it a bit more clear. So if I hit execute step again, now I get invoice, which is great because essentially this is an invoice. Now, here we notice that this is a snippet, so it's a very short sort of summary of the text. And that comes because we have the simplify option ticked right here. If we disable that and we hit fetch test data, we now get a bunch more information about our email right here. And what I'm going to do in the OpenAI module is just double click there. And this time I'm just going to use the full email text. So if I scroll down a bit, I will see the HTML version of that email and all the text that was in there. But what I would like to do is just get the text version of that, which I believe should be its own column. Yeah, and this is the text version right here. So now under json.text, we get the full email, which in some cases might be easier to allow the automation, the AI, to decide what type of content that is. In our case, it's pretty straightforward that this was an invoice, but that is also super helpful to do in terms of having all the email content given to the AI to analyze. Now, speaking of analyzing and sorting, N8N gives us a different option when it comes to this. So we could go to AI, we could go to text classifier, and this, as you can see, allows us to classify stuff in different sections, different categories. And here I can add the categories that I want. I can also look at the system prompt, and here we have, please classify the text provided by the user into one of the following categories. And then we have categories. And here we'll be able to give the different categories along with a description. Here the prompt says, and use the provided formatting instructions below, don't explain, and only output the JSON. So it could also be useful. So here, what I could do under text to classify, I could drag and drop the text. For categories, I can give the categories that I had, which were client emails, another category, which was promotional stuff, Then I had invoices. And then I had personal messages. And you can obviously add a description there as well. In this case, if I zoom out and execute the step, I get an error simply because I need to connect a model here. So let's go with OpenAI and let's execute the workflow once more. As you can see now, we get one item passed along to the invoices route, which can be easier to make the automation run down different routes. So this OpenAI node is great if you just want to have something that gives you a word and then you can categorize based on that. With this right here, with the text classifier, things are a bit more, I guess, organized because you get the 4 different routes in this case, and you can have different things happen based on whatever it is, the client emails and that route and the things that you wanted to do. Same thing with invoices. Maybe that goes down a different route. Maybe you transcribe that, then you upload it to Google Drive, then you do something with, I don't know, your invoice software. So there's different paths that you might want that to take that are different than the personal message sort of route. So different things for different sorts of emails. And all this starts with the text classifier right there. So that is another option that N8N offers. One thing I didn't mention is that you can also classify emails in the sense of applying labels to them. So if I go back here, I can say that if this is an invoice and I click on that, so I'm just down the route of invoicing, I can go back to Gmail and I can choose the label message or the label action, which I believe is this create a label. So now the label, let's see. I believe the labels need to exist already in your Gmail inbox. So this, okay, or not. Let's see if that worked. So if I go to my Gmail, yeah, that didn't. Invoices, okay, that actually created the label. So that's great. So first, if we know that that already exists, we can just classify it. If not, we can create it. So using this, we can create. However, what I want is the Gmail. Let's see. Add label to a message. Yeah, that's the one. So in this case, the label will be invoices, simply because that exists already. So if I now hit execute step, I need to pass along the message ID. Great. Which comes from the Gmail node. So let's see. Add the message ID. Okay. Let's execute the previous nodes. Let's grab the ID of the message. So what I'm doing is just dragging and dropping that variable ID. And now if I hit execute step, let's see, let's run that. And let's run that. Okay, that's weird. Let me save, refresh. Oh yeah, I think I might be, yeah, seeing a new email. Yes, I am. Simply because a new email has come in. So what I'm going to do is, in this case, this is a client email. Okay, so this went down a different branch. So what I'm going to do in this case is I would be building this. I would be adding these to different routes. In this case, just to show you an example, and since this became a client email, I'm just going to execute the workflow. So now this should go all the way through. Now, here I have an issue because the request is invalid or could not be processed. Let's see why. Yeah, probably because we can't create another label that is called invoices. So what I would do here is I would just say continue if this runs into an error. So that means if the label already exists, let's just keep going. Okay, now I got another email, I guess, which is a personal message. So let's just connect this to the same route for now. Hit execute. Okay, now we've got a promotional message. So let's just connect all that, execute, and now, yep, if I show you this, this now has the invoices message or the invoices label applied. So here we're classifying the email based on the categories that we gave it, which were client emails, promotional, invoices, and personal messages. Then we're creating a label. If that doesn't exist, if it does, it will give us an error, as you can see here. But since we went to settings and we said continue, then that won't stop the workflow. And then we're adding a label to the message, which in this case is the same invoices that we saw right here. So this is the first part of the video in terms of classifying emails, sorting them, and putting them in the right folders. The second hack is the intelligent autoresponder, and this is very exciting because this one's literally insane. So we're building an autoresponder that actually reads the email content and writes personalized responses. And think about that. Not those generic thank you for your email sort of responses. I'm talking about responses that sound like you, and it sounds like you actually wrote them. So here is the setup. We have Gmail or a Gmail trigger that feeds into OpenAI. So pretty similar to what we have right here so far. We have Gmail trigger that would feed into OpenAI. So we go back to what we had before. If we look at this, we had the Gmail trigger feeding into OpenAI. So this will be the same starting point. But now the difference is that we're giving it context into who you are, how you write, and what your business does. So those are the three key, most important things. The AI then reads incoming emails and it understands what they're asking for. And based on that, it drafts a response in your specific tone of voice. So let's test this out. So here, instead of a helpful email classifier, I'm going to say you're a helpful email responding assistant that takes the contents of an email and drafts a response to it. What you need to know are the following things about me. My name is Kevin. I live in Malta and I run an AI automation agency. The way I want you to write is in a formal but conversational tone. My business helps others run automations on processes that already are happening in their business, but they are taking up way too much time and effort in their day-to-day. So this is the whole giving it clues and ideas about what it is that I do, what I run, anything that is crucial for the automation to know when drafting this response. I can leave the same JSON.text right here. So this would be the email coming in. And now, if I execute the step, let's see what we get. Because what I'm expecting is to get a possible email reply for this. So the email right here was about, let's see. I noticed you haven't opened an email from me in a while. Just wanted to check in. If you're confused, I get it. There's a lot of noise. Okay, I'm Sean. I help freelance copywriters. You're subscribed to my VIP newsletter. Okay, cool. So here the response is, or would be the following. Thanks for reaching out, for introducing yourself. Appreciate the personal touch. Everything is going well on my end here in Malta. Just been busy running my automation agency, helping businesses streamline time-consuming processes. I do remember joining your list, as I'm always keeping an eye out for effective client automation or acquisition strategies and fresh approaches. So this essentially created this reply that I could then send to the person. What I would suggest, though, speaking of that reply, is that I don't recommend sending these emails automatically and the replies at least at first. Instead, it would be a good idea to save them as drafts so you can review them and then send them with one click. 90% of the work would be done, but that would also mean that you get the chance to review the emails that are sent. So here I can say Gmail, I can say create a draft, And I mean, it depends if we're, yeah, let's just create a draft here. Because we could also do Gmail and we could also reply to a message. I'm sure why there are two different things, but this would just reply to the message, right? Whereas the draft would then create that draft, which I think is a better idea. So over here, we have a few options: attachments, PCC, from, and let's just choose the to email. No, that's not what I want. Message. Ideally, what I would like is to, I don't know if that can be done here. Send replies to thread ID, I believe is the one, yeah. Because this will edit as a thread or as a reply to a thread from a previous email. So here, the thread ID will be this one right here. So we can drag and drop that. The message from OpenAI will be this. Now, the thing here, as you can see, is that we have the subject and the actual email. So for the subject, I don't think we can leave this empty. If we drag the content there, yeah, I don't think this will work. Because what I would like to do is just use that same subject. Let's see if I execute this step, what do I get? Yeah, we get issues. So we need to fix that. So, so what we can do is just get this to output in two separate parts. Get it to output the subject and get it to output the contents. So what I'm going to do here is ask it to output content as JSON, first of all. And I'm going to modify this slightly when it comes to the system message. So what I'm going to say is you need to output in JSON format using the following model. And I'm just going to say subject goes here, and then we'll get to output the body content. And let's say body content goes here. And like this, we'll be able to separate out each individual component. So let's try again, execute the step. And this should give us two separate outputs, which as you can see, it has. So now if I go to the next node, I can drag the subject in there. I can drag the body content in there. And now if I hit execute step, this should create a reply or a draft that is a reply in my Gmail inbox. So if I go to, let's see, my drafts, this is what I get. So I get the original email right there. Then let's see, I did the subject. Yeah, we get the subject right there. And we get that email right there. So that is working as expected. So here, all that would need to be done. What is interesting is that we get the two that's not filled in. Okay, which is a super simple fix. So if I just go here, let's add the option to email. And for the two, let's just grab the from here. So let's see here, we have tables. Yeah, we have the from address. So now if I hit execute step again, let's see what we get here. Go to drafts. Yep, and we get all that. So we get the email that's already filled in there. We get the message and we get the subject line that's already been filled again or as well. So this is a end-to-end sort of 3-module solution to getting any email that you want to have a reply that's waiting for you in your Gmail inbox. And that's pretty much ready to go. You just need to approve it. And then hit send and the email is off. And the reply is sent back to the person once more. And just to my point about what I was saying before, once you trust the system, then it's time for the full automation. So I've had clients think that I responded personally to emails that I didn't really respond to. And I had clients that I built systems for them that did the same thing. However, again, it's about testing and then ensuring that things are working as expected in the first place. Once you're confident of that, then you can move forward with that sort of automation. So let's speak about the third hack, which is the invoice extraction machine. And I think this is super cool because this automation pays for itself immediately. Every time you get an invoice via email, the system will automatically extract all the data and adds everything to a Google Sheet for your accountant. And here's essentially what happens. So the Gmail trigger detects that there's an email with a PDF attachment. The extract from file node then pulls out all the text from the PDF, and then you're pretty much using OpenAI to get the stuff that is important, like the vendor name, like the date, due amount, the description, anything that you want in perfect detail. So let's put this in practice. So over here, again, let's just use the text classifier. And what I'm going to do is connect the Gmail trigger. I'm going to connect it to the text classifier, and this time I'm just going to have the route for the invoice because that is what I want to do. So let's remove this. Let's put this here just to be a bit organized. And here, let's say that we'll have an invoice. So I'll send an invoice to myself in a second. Actually, let's just create one right here. Let's go to 4.0. Can you please create me an invoice with some fake data? Okay, sweet. Output in Markdown. Can you output in Markdown format? Cool. So let's grab this in a second. And now we can do Markdown to PDF, but pretty sure you can. Sweet. Download. Yep. Now we got the PDF invoice generated. Where the bank is the bank of automation. PayPal type workload fake. Cool email. So what will happen here is, first of all, let me just send this email to myself, and I'm just going to send it to myself. I'm going to grab that PDF and I'm just going to send that. So now if I run this, let's see if we get that invoice. Let's see. Yeah, so the problem that I was facing is that I wasn't getting the attachment right here. And here, if I hit download attachment, let's enable that. So I'll be able to test this once more. So let me zoom out here and go back to my inbox. Let me delete the new email that came in. And let's hit fetch test event. Yeah. So now we get the attachment. So if we go to JSON, we'll see the same stuff pretty much. But we also get the attachment included in the binary data. So get that information right here. So what I want to do is just, first of all, let's see. Potentially, let's use an if router. And what I'm curious about here is whether we get information about if we have an attachment or not, which right here, I don't see any info of that. Okay, fair point. So what I'm going to do here is just use the binary variable. And I'm going to say if this, I guess, object exists. Let's see what we got. Yeah, here we got true. So if this didn't exist, which is this attachment PDF, then this would return false. So if I were to, let's see, send the, let me see if I got another email. No, I didn't. So let me send an email to myself that is empty. This is an empty email. Hit send, and I run this once more. This should go down the false route. So if I execute, let's see. No, for some reason this still went down the okay. So it existed, but it is empty. So probably this needs to be object is empty. Let's execute. This is going down the true branch. Okay. So what we could say is if this, let's see, contains PDF. I'm not sure if this is the same type, to be honest, but let's see, execute. Yeah, I was expecting a string. So let's say object. Let's see. So this binary at the moment is just empty like that, right? So with object, we have exist, doesn't exist, is empty, or is not empty. And this, still giving us true, even though there's nothing in there. So what if do we have anything here we could do? .2? No. Interesting. Let's see. Okay, I think, yeah, this makes sense now. So essentially, if we get a binary attachment, then this obviously is not empty. So now this went down the false route, right? Whereas if I send an email to myself which is empty or which doesn't have an attachment, so just sending another email here. So as you can see, this has the attachment right here. If I fetch it the last email, we don't have any attachments here. So if I were to go here, I would expect this to be empty. So this would be true, which is this right here. If I go to my email inbox and delete the last email, so the last email is now the one with the attachment, this now goes down the false route. So if false, it means that we have an attachment. So that is making sense right there. So what I want to do now is extract the information from the binary data. And to do that, we have this extract from file. So we can convert binary data to JSON. And we have a bunch of options right here. What I'm going to do is extract from, I believe PDF would be the, yeah. So we just have the input binary field, which in our case is called attachment 0. And let's execute step and see what we get here. Yep, and now here we get the text invoice. So it depends what we want to do with this next. If we look at the JSON here, this is just a bunch of text. So what we could do is get this extracted so it's really JSON data. So we could technically just add an OpenAI node. We could message a model, and let's just say you are a helpful assistant. Let's convert text into the appropriate JSON data. You can be very specific if you wanted to, but let's just you trust this system. We're going to drag this inside the user one. So now this string that we have right here with all the information, I would expect to become JSON data. So let's choose the model here, 4.1, hit execute, and let's see what we get here in a second. Okay, so here we've got a bunch of JSON data. So we've got content, invoice, what the invoice number, we have the date, due date, issuer, bill to, items, and we have the notes. Great. Payment details right here. So there's a lot of information that was extracted from the original PDF. And if we look at some of the details, for example, the, I don't know, total due, which is 1,298 euros. If I go back here, where is it? Total bill to, yeah, total due in euro, 1,298. So this is extracting the information from that PDF. So we're watching or we're waiting for a PDF to come in. or for an email to come in, we're checking if it has an attachment. We're extracting the information from that PDF, and then we're outputting in JSON. So then we can just go and update that or upload that to Google Drive or whatever it is, whatever platform we might want to use for our invoicing. So that is the next automation to consider. And the good thing about this is that once this is in practice, once this is in action, there's no more manually entering invoice data. There's no more lost receipts. Everything is automatically tracked and organized. And I think that's a lot of powerful stuff. And this can easily take you from spending 3 hours on a Friday sorting through your invoices to 10 minutes, and that is literally done. If you put these automations into action, they can literally transform how you handle email forever. And the best part is that once you set them up, they work 24/7 without any additional effort from your side. I think it's time to stop being a slave to your inbox and put these automations to work so you can take back control of your time. If you found this video useful, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button so you don't miss future videos. And in the meantime, if you want access to the blueprint that we built right here with the different situations and the different nodes and the different scenarios, then check out the link in the description so you can get that as well. If you have any ideas in terms of what stuff you want to see on this channel in terms of automations, let me know in the comments, and I'm more than happy to create content based on your needs. I'll speak to you soon.